To change filters, position the valve so that those filters not being changed are in service. Ensure that the drain in the oil catch pan is piped to a waste tank or appropriate container. Loosen the de-aeration plug at the top of the filter housing cover to allow oil to drain freely from the drain plug. Loosen the drain plug at the bottom of the filter housing cover. Next, loosen the 3 cover retaining nuts and allow any remaining oil to drain into the oil catch pan. When the oil filter housing is drained, remove the cover nuts and cover. Remove the old filter cartridge and slide the new cartridge into position. Make sure that the filter cartridge is seated against the rear of the filter housing. Reinstall the filter cover. Some effort may be required to seat the cover. The bypass valve built into the cover has a spring in it that must be compressed during cover installation. Push firmly and squarely against the cover to seat it against the housing and reinstall the cover nuts. Then tighten the filter drain. Repeat the procedure for the other filter on the side being serviced. When both filters have been replaced, reposition the isolation valve and wait for oil to appear at the de-aeration ports. When the air is purged from both filter housings, tighten the de-aeration plugs and position the isolation valve so that the correct set of filters are in service. If the oil filters were serviced while the engine was not running, it is still possible to bleed the air from the filter housings. Press the manual oil prime button on the control panel and let the pre-lubricating pump fill the filter housings. Remove the cover clamp and top T-nut. Lift off the cover. Lift off the rotor assembly. Remove the rotor cover nut and separate the rotor cover from the rotor body. Remove the paper liner and clean the cover with an appropriate solvent. Check the nozzles in the rotor body. Clean the nozzles with compressed air and, if necessary, clean them out with a soft brass wire brush. Install a new paper liner in the cover. Replace the rotor O-ring. Align the marks on the rotor cover with those on the rotor body. Hand tighten the nut to approximately 10 Newton meters. A low-pressure cutoff valve stops the flow of oil to the bypass filter if oil pressure drops below 2.5 bar. During bypass filter service, you must remove the low-pressure cutoff valve plug. Check that the valve and spring are free to move. Replace the valve plug gasket if required and reassemble the valve. Install the rotor on the spindle, making sure it spins freely. Then replace the cover. Properly tighten the clamp and T-nut that secure the cover. If the shutoff valve was closed, reopen it. Within a minute or so of reopening the valve, or as the engine nears operating temperature, you should feel the cover. If the unit is operating properly, the cover will be warm.